All right, we are live. What's up, everybody? Hey, Facebook. I got Tanner over here with me. For those of you who don't know Tanner, founder of DripJobs, I'm super excited about this presentation. Tanner, how about you, man?
Pumped up, love the topic. Obviously, I'm a little passionate about CRM, so can't wait
A
to dive
little.
in.
I love it, man. I love it. Well, cool. Let's dive right in. So what we're going to cover today is we're going to talk about some core concepts of CRM stuff, and some of this is based on like my experience seeing some of my clients. Um, like CRMs have a lot of cool, fancy tools,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
at the
yeah.
very core of it, one of the things they're trying to do is just to get more sales. And so I see some, and I know that you do too, Tanner. I see sometimes people skip over the kind of core fundamentals and go straight for all the fancy bells and whistles and miss out on the fundamental truth of closing more deals. And so there's a couple of things I want to talk about there. And then I also want to dive in with you and talk about customizing the actual, because you got presets, right? But I want to
Sure.
talk about like customizing the sequences and customizing the pipelines to like really tailor it for you, and talk about like cool advanced automations. I know you guys released some awesome features. We can use Zapier for all kinds of cool things. And I want to dive into some of that.
Let's dive in. Let's do it.
Awesome. So real quick, for those of you that don't know us, uh, Tanner Mullen owns a really awesome paint company over in Ocala. Amazing contractor himself, has a really successful business, and of course, he's the founder of DripJobs, the absolute go-to for contractors and especially for painters. It is the CRM that we recommend to all of our clients. It's absolutely fantastic.
Thank you, man.
And then for those of you that don't know me, I'm the founder of Search Click Grow. I run an agency. I've been in the contractor space for about 2 decades. And my job is just to help contractors grow. And while I don't do CRMs personally, Tanner is the guy that does CRMs personally. We, as a marketer, I overlap with this a lot because if I just give leads to my clients, they many times fail. So we end up consulting a lot in CRMs and have for a couple of decades. And of course, we have our own CRM. So, um, quick housekeeping. If you got questions while we're going, just drop them in the comments. We got a couple of guys. One of the guys from DripJobs team, one guy from my team, they're going to be like helping to kind of filter questions. We're going to take those at the end, but go ahead and drop them along the way, and then we'll get to them. All right. You ready to get in this, Tanner?
I'm ready, brother.
All right, brother. So I want to talk about core concepts first, because this is the thing I think that that I see is most often missed. And I think that the big thing there is like, what is a CRM? Because a lot of times we see like I said a minute ago, like the fancy things that CRMs are capable of doing, like auto texting and zaps and all these actions. But I think the core thing, like the sole mission, is this. Would you agree with that? The CRM is a tool to help nurture leads through the customer journey and ultimately close more deals.
I think
Like,
nowadays that's what it is. I think the term CRM is pretty stale now because it stands for
yeah,
contact relationship management. And what that converted into is that this thing is now I call it a BMS, business management system, but
yeah, for sure.
the CRM, it's a great acronym, but the direction things are heading in, this tool is really an all-encompassing business management powerhouse. The right tool,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
like that's it's actually your business. Like,
yeah, 100%.
like when
I mean,
I'm sure
our
even
team is in our
from
CRM
your
daily.
CRM. That's what I'm
You
saying.
know,
Like if
yeah.
your CRM and your marketing agency got ripped out from under you, like, dude, it'd almost be like the electricity going out in your house.
100%. Well, and I know, like, you just pointed out, like, the acronym stands for customer relationship management. I've been in this long enough to remember when the very, very, very early CRMs were just a contact list.
That was
They
it.
almost looked like they looked
It
like
was
a
a
contact thing
Rolodex.
on your phone. It was a Rolodex. It
Yeah,
wasn't. There was no automations. There was no pipelines. There was none of that.
nothing.
It was just
It was
contacts,
contact. It was contact management. It was a
contacts
digital
with notes,
Rolodex.
context with notes, and you had to like, but that didn't do anything. And so like, later it started evolving into like the pipeline view and having automations and all these things. And like your tool has like reporting, so you can bring in marketing into specific channels and have lead attribution.
Yeah,
You can measure things like, all the really awesome things like cost per lead and lead to set rate, set to close rate, like all these amazing measurements that do. It becomes like the digital backbone of your company. It does almost everything.
Here's my perspective from someone who's building it. It is a great responsibility, because how fast we iterate and how fast we build determines how fast companies that use us can grow, because of the
Oh
features
man,
that we
that's
have.
powerful.
You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
is a lot of responsibility. I embrace it. I love it. But the fact of the matter is, the reason this app was created simply was because I was operating at a faster pace than the solutions that were available to me 5-6 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. Well, I break down personally the CRM as like having these three main functions. And there's a lot of other things that it does, but like to me, like I like to break down, I think hierarchially, almost like an outline, like here's a heading 1, indent, I'm a heading 2. That's just the way my brain works.
Yeah.
And so when I think about this, these are the three core things that I think about on a CRM. Organizational leads, that's like the Rolodex part,
Yeah.
right? Like it's still at its core, it still has to have people in it. Jane Smith at 123 Anywhere Street wants her house painted. I have to record that information. And so there's an organization of leads.
Yeah.
But the modern ones, where they do is, instead of it just being the Rolodex, we have the pipeline view, which
Yeah.
we were going to talk about in a minute. But I know you're going to demo and do some screen share in a few too. But that pipeline view becomes, instead of this like chaos of just like a Rolodex where you can't know what's what, it's like, here's phase 1, here's phase 2, here's phase 3. And I got 10 people in this phase and 3 people here and 6 people here. And you start to understand visually where everyone's at.
Oh,
right. And that's what I mean. Like organizational leads, not just a lead record, it organizes them.
Right.
And then the better communications. So as you know, like the lead nurture part is huge. Like you don't just get a lead and get a sale. There's a million touch points in the middle that happen and things that have to happen. And some of that may be manual. A lot of it can be programmed where automations and stuff come in, but we have to communicate. So a kind of overlap with the first one, organization, is like, if they're in this phase, like the new lead phase, okay, there's certain things I have to say to new leads.
Right.
And I can program that to say those things.
Yep.
If they're like awaiting my schedule because my rep is going to be to them tomorrow, there's a different thing that I need to say. So I can streamline and create better communications because I can organize in a CRM. Where if I just had that digital Rolodex, I'm going to get lost. I'm going to miss communications. I'm not going to remember to call. There's no programming involved to remind me or to do something automatically. It's just communications are non-professional at that point.
100%.
And then I think the third thing is like, once we pass that like old school CRM of like the digital Rolodex, when we get into a modern day CRM like DripJobs, it gives you powerful reporting. I mean, you got job costing and all the marketing and attribution stuff. It's powerful, bro. And like you said, like it becomes like that pulse for your business,
Oh man. Like I look back and I think, man, there's so many components to this. I'll break down each one based on this slide here, but just in all things aside, right? I look at business as you're building a sellable asset, or at least that should be the mindset behind what you're doing. That should be the end goal. Whether you sell it or not, it's up to you, but it should be an asset. And really think of two businesses. One is generating $1 million. They have a contact list. They do a majority of their work off of pen and paper, spreadsheet, maybe an invoice app. And the other one has powerful communications happening to all leads, all opportunities, all customers, job costing, metrics and data showcasing you everything that you need to see. You can see your revenue, you can see your profit and loss, you can see estimating standards, you can see all this stuff packaged up. How vastly different would the valuations of those businesses be?
Night and day, brother. Night and day.
Night and day. So
yeah, I'll tell you which one I would buy.
Yeah, me too. I mean, well, at the very least, you'd say that is a business in a box. So when we talk CRM, it's so much more than this like tool that you just use for your business. And I want to emphasize that to those watching. It's like this thing could make the difference between a 3x valuation and a 1x valuation of the sale of your business, right? Simply because it creates a technological turnkey. So in any case, yes, organization of leads is number one. When I look at a CRM, the first thing I need to make sure of is that my leads are organized where they need to be. And that's the same for even DripJobs. We have a separate CRM for DripJobs. And day one, when I signed up for it, it's like, okay, what are the categories and what are the stages that the contractors are going to fall into when we try to sell them DripJobs? That's day one, right? So when DripJobs was being built, it's like, okay, what stages does a customer go through to purchase a home service product? And that's, generally speaking, it's a new lead. And we're going to talk about this, but we have it labeled as cold, a warm lead, right? Someone that we've spoken to. That's our definition of it. We have people that request estimates, schedule estimates, customers that are in the draft stage. They're waiting for their proposal. We've sent the proposal, and then, those that reject it. So visually, and going back to this, and we're going to talk about this too, Mike, is that you go back 15, maybe even 20 years, go to any contractor's office, and you're going to see a big whiteboard in their office, right?
And they organize it the same
way. And the office admin is in there erasing it and writing it, erasing it and writing it, erasing it and writing it. So this is like not a new thing. This is just a digitized way of doing business. Communications, that's the foundation of all relationships. Relying on manual means or anything outside of the thing that organizes the customers that we're trying to communicate with is insufficient. There's all sorts of tech stack solutions, but one of the problems I ran into was, and this was before DripJobs, was I was attempting to communicate with people and trigger communication. But the problem is I couldn't stop the communication because I had to create another trigger that recognized when that customer didn't need that communication anymore. And case in point, I might set up an automated email sequence, but then I send the proposal and they accept the proposal and they no longer need to receive communication that's saying, hey, Joanne, are you ready to move forward? Hey, Joanne, here's a discount. Hey, Joanne, do you have any questions? Right. So that was a major bottleneck. And of course, the reporting, holding marketing agencies accountable is an important thing. Any great marketing agency should encourage 100%. That. They should say, I want to be held accountable. Most people that don't have a good software, they have no way to hold their marketing agency accountable. And we're just not talking about leads. We're talking about ROI. And at the very least, it opens up the door for a conversation of, hey, I've gotten 50 leads from you. Okay. I haven't converted $1 in those leads. Well, guess what? Now the marketing agency and the contractor can collaborate on the account, review the leads, look at the pipeline, look at the estimates that are being sent, identify if notes were being taken, look at the workflow and say, you have a sales problem here, and work together to come together first.
We see that all the time. Sometimes as a market, and we want that transparency. I know you know that, but we encourage that transparency. I'm talking about transparency. Thank you. We encourage that from our leads, and sometimes we go in and there's something that we need to adjust or make right. And sometimes, like I've gone in and like, hey, nothing's converting here, and then I look at the call reporting. Like we use like a system called CallRail, and I'm like, well, dude, you're missing 60% of your calls. Yeah, like your answer rate's 40%. The other 60% are going to voicemail, and as soon as they hang up, they're going to the next person. This is where you need to fix it. So but it at least allows you a number to look at, and you go, oh, that's the problem. And let's dive in and figure out what's going on.
That's right.
Well, dude, I want to move to a couple misconceptions that I see. And this is my experience from an agency, seeing my clients use CRMs in ways that I think, having beliefs that I think are wrong and use cases that I think are wrong. So I wanted to kind of dive into this. I think for me, the common misconception I see is that just having a CRM is going to fix your sales process. And I don't think that's right at all. I think that, a CRM makes you more professional and makes your sales easier, right? Which is, we talked about that 1,000 times. DripJobs, from things like making the bidding easier with job costing and all that stuff, the presentation, the proposals, automated reminders, there is no doubt that it raises the bar and makes you a better and more professional company, 100%. But it doesn't automatically fix your management of leads. You still sometimes have to pick up phone calls. Automation doesn't create every contact point. You still have to pre-qualify sometimes, and sometimes maybe someone's cancels an appointment and you may have to pick up a phone. It just doesn't manage itself. It still requires a human element, and it doesn't mean that it automatically closes. You still have to have some sales skills here. And I know you preach about this a lot, but the CRM makes it easier for you to close because you're you've raised your professionalism a whole bunch. You've built trust and value in that customer journey. But at the end of the day, you still have to have some sales skills.
There were many times early on in my business, first 2 or 3 years, where I was fighting to find work. I mean, I remember it would be a Thursday and I had work until the following Tuesday. And I would purposely tell my guys to slow down because I didn't want them to finish the work too quick. And that allowed me the time that I needed to be able to drum up business. And one of the things that you need to understand when it comes to being creative and resourceful is you don't want to waste that beautiful energy that comes out over the phone on frustration of trying to find the information and make the phone call. Right. And that is a very important component. Right. So I would challenge anyone to this because I lived it. So I can say this with confidence. Anyone that's not using a software like DripJobs, if I challenge them to find me the last 10 people that they've given a proposal to and tell me the amount of the proposal and get me their phone number, and they had 5 minutes to do it, I guarantee you that would be a big hurdle for them. And the problem is with that is that when it comes time to get in the mindset to sit down and make those character building phone calls that I'm telling you about, those ones where you need to come with your full heart to a customer and say, Mrs. Jones, here's where I'm at. I'd love to meet you in the middle somewhere. My team needs work. What can we do on this proposal? And have that proposal right in front of you, or maybe even when you're driving and being able to access that information when you have a spark of inspiration. That is so valuable. So for me, accessing that data and that information can be the difference between telling your team that they have work or having to tell them, sorry, you're not working this week because you couldn't drum up the business, right? So the confidence that you have, this is where I'm getting at with this, is the confidence that you have to know, hey, I can open this up and I'm in a spirit of energy. I can go in and make those phone calls and knock out 10 follow-up phone calls to either leads or proposals at a click of a button.
Yeah, I love it. I also think that kind of in the same lines, like when you get someone ready to sell, like there was this Alex Hormozy video where he talks about this time where he pulled up to a gas pump and this guy was like trying to sell him something like in the gas station, like at the pump. And Alex Hormozy was like, yeah, sure. And the guy's like, okay, real quick, I got to go run back to my car and get the payment machine. And so like a guy leaves and then comes back and he's leaving. Alex is leaving now. He's already pumped his gas. And he's like, oh, come on, I want to, get the sale. And Alex is like, hey, man, you got to be ready, and leaves. And the lesson is like, when they're ready to buy, you need to be ready.
Right.
And that's a huge thing, too, with the CRM is it should speed things up so that, DripJobs has like electronic payments. Like you can right there be like, okay, cool, we agree on this. Boom, send, it's on your thing. Just sign it and do this deposit. And we're done. That speed right there is key. How many contractors do you talk to? I know I talk to a bunch that do this, where they're still emailing proposals and waiting days to weeks later and going, well, I don't know why they're ghosting me.
Yeah.
Well, because when they were ready, you weren't ready.
Right.
I think that's a huge component.
It is a huge component. And I think being ready is important. If a customer calls you and you're on the phone, I've learned this more than anything. Sales is momentum. It's just momentum. It's energy. It really is. So when I look at it like this, if a customer calls us and they want to talk about the proposal, how long does it take you to find out the information of the proposal? I'll say, give me 2 seconds. Let me pull it up. I don't care where. I can be anywhere in the United States. Oh, this is what we're talking about. Got it. I have photos right in front of me. Let's go over this. Did you want that? Do you want to remove that? Got it. I can remove it. I can make this optional. Let me resend it to you right now while your energy's high. My energy's high. Let's get the deal done. But nobody, including myself, nobody likes to wait.
No, man, we're impatient. Super impatient, man. And the more technology advances, the more impatient we become.
It's just because the standards changed.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. It's slow, but I remember, and I know you remember this too, like, late 90s, early 2000s of AOL dial-up days. I remember very literally like clicking a photo, going and making dinner and coming back and the photo's still loading.
I remember downloading a software update on my computer and just like waiting for that 98
Uh-huh. Oh yeah.
99, and it's just like
Oh,
hours, dude. And you're
hours. But now, if a website doesn't load in two
you
seconds,
think it's
we're
broken.
we're impatient. Yeah, there was a point in time where the only way for a contractor to legitimately make a proposal was like pen and paper, and it took a while,
Yeah.
and then they give it
No,
to
it
them.
was the
Like there was
carbon
a time
copy.
where that was the only
It
option,
was the
but
carbon
it's not
copy.
now. So this,
The
yeah, the standards have changed.
three-page carbon copy. You get a copy, you get a copy, and I get a copy.
Yeah, I see a carbon copy, man. I'm running for the hills. That guy's not up with times.
Yeah.
Well, the next misconception that I see here, brother, is the CRM is entirely automatic and doesn't need management. And we talked about this a little bit offline before this, but for me, this one topic is why I wanted to do this training.
Sure.
This one thing is the catalyst. So I have tons of clients that, all of my clients I consult with on the sales and lead nurture process. I can't be there to do it for them. We handle marketing and then we do those
Yep.
other things, right? And it doesn't matter if we're working together or you're doing this on your own, whether you know Tanner or know me or not. When the CRMs help raise your professionalism, they automate some tasks, they do a bunch of things. At the end of the day, it still requires some management. And I got a screenshot here I want to show you.
Okay.
This is from an actual client of mine. And this screenshot is from today. I did not take this a year ago or a month ago. This is from 3 hours ago, from a client that's doing between, I think, give or take 1.5 million, if I remember right. I'm not going to say who the client is or where they are, but this is a big painter. This painter's actually presented for PCA and been in multiple events talking about sales and how good he is at sales. And I want to look at this pipeline here. And I think this is kind of like, there's a curse here, I think. And if you look at this, like the screenshot, this first one, it shows 206 deals in the cold lead, which that's where the new leads come into, right? When
Right.
they're brand new Facebook forums,
Right.
web forums, whatever. This is where you put them in. This is before they have gone warm or asked to book an appointment or anything. This is just kind of their drop zone. And you can see that there's 206, and some of them are as old as 8 months old. I'm sorry, man, but like you can't tell me that is properly managed and you're doing your job as a salesperson, as an organization, as a team. If you've got someone
That's a
in this
lot of
very
money.
first, dude, there's a lot of money there. Now, if you look at the top of that, like I scrolled down, this is the bottom of that list. You scroll up, there's people that are days to weeks, hours old, right? Those people are in the proper stage at the proper moment. But there's other people that aren't. And look at this proposal sent, this second one, 385 deals as old as a year. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Like, why haven't you called that person up and tried to do that? Like, come on, man. You got proposals out. You got almost $3 million in proposals and you're not managing that. And then estimates scheduled. Like, look at this, 397 estimates scheduled, some of them as old as 2 years ago. And I think there's a principle here, at least for me, the way I was taught to use a CRM is that you talked about this. It's a process, momentum, right?
It is.
So if sales process momentum, we're trying to go from point A to point Z. That's the goal. What I'm trying to do is go from step A to step B to step C, all the way down the line, just jumping. And we're going to talk about customizing stages in a minute,
Right.
but whether you're using DripJobs default or you've made your own or you've got 5 stages or you've got 50 stages, the principle is the same. You're trying to go from step 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 on down the line until the proposal is accepted and you got a deposit in hand.
Yep.
That's the goal. If at any point they go cold or they ghost you, you can maybe have a custom stage for that, right? You can have a stage for that condition where you have a long-term nurture, or you mark the opportunity as lost.
Yep.
And you move on.
Move on.
So for me, a lead should either be progressing or go to some sort of cold nurture sequence, or it should be pulled off my board. Because I want my salespeople and I want me and I want my clients to focus on the deals that are like actually valid. This person from 2 years ago that requested an estimate scheduled, they've probably forgotten about you at this point.
So,
But
and I want to interject here because this is an important topic. And I think there's also the responsibility on our side in terms of DripJobs to make it easy for this individual to see the data that he wants his team to see. And I think, and one of our initiatives is way better filtering on the pipeline. So he can save a view that says, show me only the deals that have been updated within the last 30 days. Now he has a very up-to-date snapshot. And that's really the vision of where we're heading is, and this has been a 3-year extreme learning journey for me. And now we're seeing companies that have been with us for so long and they have what you see here. This is a dead pipeline, right?
Oh, it's dead.
And
And this was just 3 of them. The other stages were just as bad.
we don't want to rely on people having to go through 350 deals. One of the things we just released was the ability for a customer to self organize, right? In other words, now they can go in and they can reject the proposal, right? That's a
Yeah.
big deal because we just released that 3 weeks ago. And even in my painting business, customers are now moving themselves to the proposal rejected button, right? So
Yep.
expecting someone to go in and do this manually is, of course, like the mindset. Now, I don't think there's an excuse for the estimate scheduled one. That should be clean.
Well, I would argue that most of these should have a human review component.
There
I'm
should
not
be.
saying I'm not
Yeah.
saying they need to spend hours every day.
I think
For
at this
me,
point, it's beyond human touch. I think this needs to be
it is. You almost need to
cleaning
just
your
like bulk
room.
close out 300 of them.
Right. And
Yeah,
that's how I see it too. Like CRMs need to be clean. Like you need to look and you
they
need to take
do.
notes. You need to move these things around. You need to archive things, especially something as touchy as DripJobs that has a communication component to it.
Like the email blast, brother.
Right.
So here's one of the problems that I see, because like the most common email blast that you would send out would be a promotion to people that are in your contacts, but you would use the filter people that are not in my
Right.
sales pipeline
Right.
because you want an offer. But now I got a person in here that's 2 years old that I want to see a promo so I can re-engage them,
Right.
but they're in my sales pipeline
Right.
and I won't be able to hit them that way. And so that becomes like a really fundamental
Segmentation.
organizational.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. So for me, I want people to either be moving along the journey or to get out of my sales pipeline, because my belief is that the salespeople should be focused on the leads that are most likely to convert. Now, this isn't like a hard line, and everyone's definition of this is a little bit different. Some people will say, I'm going to leave them in there for 6 to 12 months. Okay, that's cool. But I'm saying you should, as a company, define it
Right.
somehow, some way.
Right.
Where is that stage where they have ghosted you so long, are so old that they no longer are considered in your organization by your standards as being a sales opportunity? They are just a contact at this point.
Right.
There's a point where we cross that, and I think every company needs to define it. But I think we should seek to define it so that we have cleaner sales. I was working with one of our clients, a different client than this one, and they were like, they had an office admin. They're like, I want my admin to call everyone that doesn't have a schedule, something on the schedule, like everything from new to scheduled. This one person, all they're going to do is they're going to call every lead 3 times a day for that. But the problem is they had such mismanaged. There were hundreds, nearly 1,000 people in those couple stages. And I'm like, bro, you're asking one person without an auto dialer to call 3 times a day to 800 leads. That's never going to fundamentally happen.
Right.
You have to clean the CRM up first. And then it would be, and they had the same thing. They had leads that were 1 to 2 years old in there. And I'm like, this lead's done. Like, just archive it and let's move on.
How many people know that we do have a bulk archive? So
I didn't know that, actually.
Okay.
I didn't know. Yeah.
It's not strategically placed, but we of that feature.
I would love to see follow up on that, because I could share that with some. Yeah, I'll share that with some of my clients. I think that could help
clean
a lot.
Up those pipelines.
And my last common misconception that I see, and I know you would believe this too, is that a CRM is just never needs adjustment. Like it's just a set and forget type thing. And I don't think this is true. I think every area of your business, including your CRM, you think about the CRM as a software tool to help you with your sales process. So really, it's just a digital version of your sales process. You're going to tell me that the way that I'm selling today is fixed forever and I never need to improve it. I never need to adjust it. Come on, man. And I have a lot of clients that do this, man. They have emails that they wrote 3 years ago, 5 years ago, like no changes in any process. And then, their performance in sales is going down, and then they wonder why. Well, it's because you're not thinking about it. So I think we need like an iterative model. And, this is just one way to present an iterative model where you do something, you launch it, then you review it and analyze for feedback, and then you iterate again, and you just keep doing that. If Facebook today looks wildly different than when it was back in its first iteration, right? But Zuckerberg didn't wait till the version it is today and launch it. He didn't wait for that perfect version. He launched what he had, made small changes, launched it again, made small changes, launched it again, just over and over and over again. And I know DripJobs is evolving like that too. You guys are pushing changes like almost weekly, it seems like.
I mean,
But
that
I think that
we
the
call them
end company
micro
needs to be doing the
iterations,
same.
but yes.
Yeah. Micro iterations. There's a bunch of labels for it, but for me, my standpoint is just you should not just set it and forget it.
Yeah.
It should be evaluated and reviewed. I don't think people need to change it daily, because you're not going to get enough time behind it, monthly, quarterly,
Yeah.
semi-annually, whatever. But you need to have some periodic reviews and cool thing is with like DripJobs, you can see like where people drop off.
Yeah.
And so I think we were talking about numbers earlier. Like if you look at the numbers, you can go, oh, well, people are dropping off after they request appointment and they're not actually booking the appointments.
Right.
They're like, that's where our biggest drop off of leads are. Okay, well, figure that out. What are you saying? What are you doing?
Right.
How can we improve that? And for me, like once I see those numbers, I'm like, oh, okay, there's a problem. Let's see if we can fix that place and make that better and get more people to the next stage.
Right.
What are your thoughts on that, man?
Oh man, it's just the essence of business is this little graphic you have here is you throw something out, you try it, you launch it, and you analyze it, and then you refine it. That's the theme of growth.
Yep.
With DripJobs, for me, I can easily identify where our lag points are. I have the other day I saw that our schedule was looking light. I think it was Sunday. I was looking at the schedule. I'm like, that looks different. Why is that light? And then I turned on the news and realized there was a hurricane, but then I'm like, oh, okay, that makes sense. So,
that'll do it.
But in any case, I was able to pinpoint that almost immediately and then take action. And I think also what you said about it needs iterations. I'm still iterating my CRM as a painting business owner. We're starting to take on some commercial work, within our capabilities. And I built out a new stage and a nice follow-up message that aligns with that we've already gotten a comment on from the property manager. And they said that they loved that message and it was so well received because they're not used to it. Right. So there's so many cool things that I'd love to dive into about that topic as well.
Awesome. Well, we're about to get there because we're going to talk about for me, these 3 core concepts we just covered are my reason for wanting to do this training. But with that said, let's jump into, I know where your passion is out. Let's talk about like customizing DripJobs, making it your own and actually building that sales process out.
Yeah.
So I think there are, for me, and you may have something to add on this, but for me, I think there's 3 core elements that every pipeline, the sales pipeline, not jobs pipeline or something else, but the sales pipeline needs to have. We need to have at least a couple stages for leads, at least a couple stages for like appointments, and at least a couple stages for the bid proposal part of the process. But and DripJobs has that out of the gate. That's where it starts. So that's kind of, you've already identified that, you've already had it. And I'm only mentioning this part for the people that are not cool enough to be on DripJobs. They're using something else. There's a couple of those out there, right? But if you're building your own from scratch with some other third-party tool, you still need to have these. Like they must be there. You're going to have leads come in, and you have to communicate them and try to drive them to an appointment. And then you request an appointment, direct booking, whatever you have, or you take it over the phone, doesn't matter, some sort of mechanism to get an appointment, then remind them of the appointment. Then you're going to go to them and meet the homeowner, do your measurements, do your walkthroughs, do all that stuff. And you're ultimately going to have a proposal and a price and try to close that deal. Those are 3 elements that I think are unarguable that they need to be there.
It's interesting because when I first started DripJobs, the core component was sales, right? Lead nurturing, opportunities, following up with proposals. And then when we were building, I was up in the mountains of Georgia and I had this epiphany. It's amazing when you go to the mountains, your ideas start to flow, the mental clarity, man. And this is when I had the first development team build it. And I'm like, you know what? We should split up the pipeline and make 2 pipelines and have one for jobs. And I thought, you know what, man, there is room for drip communication at the job level. And, and I didn't really consider it until we were building, but I love that aspect of it as well. So I'd feel like, if there's one thing that, I feel like could be added here, it'd be the job component and how valuable drip communication is there. Case in point, up north, when I was doing demos of DripJobs, we'd run into a lot of people that had to navigate the winter months. And one of their
Oh yeah.
strategies was to sell jobs sometimes 4 to 6 months in advance. Right. So this was,
Yeah.
as I'm learning this, and
Yeah.
one of my questions was, well, do you communicate with that customer from the time you sell the job till the time that you actually get close to doing it? And they say, well, no, not really. We usually just call them a couple weeks before it's time. And then
That loses that momentum you were talking about,
no
brother.
man,
That
I mean, they
loses all the
forget about
excitement.
you. Yeah, like,
Yeah,
so
they
you
forget
can
about
use
you.
them to build up that excitement and create a couple
Hmm.
drip messages that say, hey, get ready. We're hoping to get started here soon. If you have any questions, let us know, and build out a sequence just for them. So much opportunity there for sure.
Yeah, for sure. And I definitely, I had designed these slides talking about mainly the sales side of the
Sure.
pipeline, but you're 100% right. And I actually do that too. So like in my CRM, unfortunately, I can't use DripJobs because it's more contractor focused. But I have two pipelines. I have a sales pipeline,
Yep.
and then I have a client pipeline, and
Yeah.
I do the same thing. Like once someone comes on, there's like a welcome to
Yeah.
being a Search Click Grow client, and there's here's what to do next. Here's how to book your kickoff call and get
Yeah.
started. And then there's literally like phases for week 1 and week 2
Yeah.
and week 3 and week 4, all the way down. Like, here's the things that we're doing this week. And you know what I
Yeah.
mean? And it just streamlines and professionalizes
It's
those
awesome. Yeah.
communications. Yeah. Well, I think when, we look at uh, one of the big things to do when you're talking about customizing the drips is I get a lot of clients like, hey, I want to customize this pipeline, and I know you helped some other people, and
Yeah.
I see some other people with these cool things, and they're like, what do I do? I think the first thing for me when we think about customizing is to start by taking a look at the sales process you currently have.
Right.
Right? For example, the client that I was talking about that has one of their admins call people for like 10 days in a row, what we did is we created like a day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4 thing. And so they could just move their leads. Oh, I called them there in the next day. They
Yep.
called them there the next day. And so now there's like a visual representation of what their sales team is actually doing. So for me, I think the very first thing that before we try to customize anything is to just take a look at what you're doing. And maybe your sales process needs work, maybe it doesn't, but just start there. What are you actually doing, or what do you want that process to look like? And then once we have that, now we have the kind of the basis of what to do. And then from there, I go into, and I said this earlier, I think hierarchically, and it's not for everyone, but it's the way that I work. I start by creating an outline. And I don't like to go into any CRM and start creating stages and writing emails and writing text. I want to see an outline first, personally. And so I'll say, here, step 1, it's this, step 2 is this, step 3 is this. And I write it in very easy, human, understandable terms. And then underneath each one of those, I decide what is the intent of this stage? What is the condition that gets them there? And what are the actions needed to get them out of this stage? And all CRMs pretty much have this. Like, think about like estimate requested. Okay. It has a name, clear name. It's very easy to understand. Its intent, well, that's pretty clear. They want an estimate, right? What's the condition? When they click a button or fill out a form to do so. And what's the action required to get them out of that? Is actually booking the appointment. That gets them out of there and moves them to the next stage. And so you could do that same exact logic for all your custom stages. Where I see people go wrong is they start making custom stages without defining these things. And then it just becomes a cluster. It's like nonsensical.
Right.
It's overly complicated. It ends up causing more confusion than helping. And so for me, when I'm building out CRM stages, I don't put any of them in place unless I can define these things. What are your thoughts on that? How do you define custom stages?
Yeah. I mean, for me, I look at it like, am I currently doing something that I can automate? Or,
Yep.
like,
Yep.
or is the, really, or is somebody, are we missing an element of our process that could create a better experience? Um,
Yeah.
it's unlimited. So for me, here's an example. I'm giving another job example, but this is just the easiest one I can think of. We do paint jobs, and all my customers have to submit colors, every one of them. And
Yep.
that's like a thing that like we can't escape as a painting business. So one of the stages that I put in my system was the colors stage. So we identify who submitted their colors. And then once they move to that stage, we send them that email that says, hey, we received your colors. Thank you. Right. Like it's one of those things that creates a better experience.
Yep.
So the name is colors confirmed. The
Yep.
intent is to create another touch point in the production process and to confirm that we received it, right? How many times do you get an email or a text message? Did you receive my colors? That's like a high stress point for a
Yeah,
homeowner
it
because
is.
they have to
Yep.
make sure you got the right colors and they got to make sure you receive them. That's important. Don't ghost those people, right? And I find myself ghosting them, like, let me review it. Or so I'm like, you know what, let me just automate this. I'll just go to DripJobs, move it over.
Yep.
They get an email. They're happy. I'm happy. And what's great is, and I know that there's some contractors that have ran into this, is that I don't question whether or not I have someone's colors because I have it there and it helps me identify that that customer's ready to go. And I can't tell you before this, there's been some times where I had to start a job and I was like, they didn't even pick their colors yet and you can't start. Right. So
Yep.
that solved that problem. The condition of that is, of course, they need to hire us and they need to be scheduled to get there. And
Yep.
of course, the actions that take place are what I just mentioned. So
Yeah.
that's
Yep.
the easiest example I can give you, and we can find many of those within both sides.
Well, and I think, and we're going to get into this too, because we're talking about some custom automations in a minute. But one of the things, and I'm sure you're probably already doing that, but you can use Zapier for different stages too. In addition to the built-in emails and stuff
Yep.
and texts that are built in, you can start using Zapier. So you could be like, when someone is in that stage, like colors are picked,
Yep.
you could like alert you or a crew lead through a Zap and be like, cool, colors are done. Awesome. Jane Smith
It
just picked her
opens up
colors.
yeah,
Oh
it's
yeah,
great.
it starts getting real fun right there. Well, let's go into there and let's talk about customizing the actual the drips themselves. And for me, and when I'm writing it, again, I think hierarchically. So I start with that outline from before, and once I've identified the stages that I want to build, then I start writing. But for me, I don't write in any drip, any email, any automation until I define that outline, because I think once you do, what to say almost becomes self-evident.
Right.
If I've got a stage that's like a cold lead, well, what do I need to say? Well, I need to say something to get them to warm back up and get back in touch.
Right.
If I've got a color stage, what do I need to say? It has to do with the colors. It becomes self-evident. It almost writes itself, right? Not entirely, but pretty close, right? And so then for each stage, we go back to that, just want to do those intent, conditions, and actions. Like, what do we need to say to make sure that those things are defined? You know, and I know there's a lot of nuance here, and there's 1,000 ways to handle this, and everyone's writing style is going to be different. Everyone's timing and sales process is different. But once we have that outline and we cover that, then we just start writing emails and we start writing text and, get other people's opinions, do internal testing, all this kind of fun stuff. And from that point, then I would just from there, like, launch and monitor results like we talked about before. What are your thoughts about how you actually write the emails and the SMSs and all those things for these pipelines? What do
Yeah, I
you do?
mean, for me, I just look at it from the customer's perspective. The intent is really important. I think for
Yeah.
me, one of the last drips that I made was for my commercial clients, and the timing's important, right? Like you got to make sure that the
Yeah.
context is there. I think for commercial clients, you really don't want to bang them with, drip messages every day because
Oh yeah. That'll
you
piss them
you
off.
gotta have awareness of where they are as a buyer. And for me, it's like, well, our commercial clients, generally speaking, have to go through someone to get this project approved. So what
Mm-hmm.
is the tonality of our message? What would we say on the phone if we were to make a follow-up call? And that phone
Yep.
call wouldn't be, hey, are you ready to move forward yet? Even though they just told us that they have to meet with the board or do something like that. So for me, I made a drip message for commercial clients, which I might show you here, that just outlines, hey, we're excited to do the job for you. Just a heads up, you can access all of our insurance, workers' comp, our W-9 information in the portal if you click this link. After you have your board meeting and you want to move forward with us, it's a $500 deposit. Payment terms are outlined. Please let us know if you need us to make you a payee on our general liability, like answering all the questions that they're going to have already to just build more confidence so they become our advocate when it comes to submitting bids. And I find that even a simple follow-up like that has made a difference.
I 100% agree. And you know, going back to, for me, I want like a very human, understandable, very simple, very clear stage title. You know, like cold lead is pretty simple. Estimate sent is pretty simple, right? Colors chosen, or whatever, however you word that. Like, I think when the titles become really clear, like we kind of know what that condition is, because you said, you're right. You went in to write for that human condition,
Right.
right? And so we had, going back to a few slides ago, we identify what the sales process looks like in all those stages, and then we say, okay, well, because they're the X stage, whatever it is, we understand their condition means, in like your corporate job, it's like, okay, well, I've got to do X and Y and Z. So yeah, you don't want to bombard them 5 times a day.
Right.
And you know, that's the wrong thing, because it's the wrong condition. And for me, that's why I spend more time on outlines than I do actually writing messages, because I think
Yeah.
once the outline is there, like like I said, I think it's a little bit self-evident, because you've identified that condition with the stages, and then all you have to do is, I love your approach with the voice. Like, what would you
Yeah.
say on the phone? I think that's beautiful.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. I haven't thought of that approach. I just think about what I want to say. Probably pretty close to the same
Sure.
thing.
Yeah.
But I just think about, like, okay, if they're in this condition here, and my goal is to get them from here to here. Okay, where are they at right now? What do I need to say that aligns with here that's going to get them to the next phase? That's really my only goal. I'm not
So
trying to get them 10 stages later. I'm trying to get them from point A to point
I
B,
want to
or let's say point.
add a
What you
point.
got?
Yeah, I just want to add a point to this, because like I think when people hear that they have to sit down and write all these stages, I think, the general concept of all this, CRM or not, is to get from point A to point B as fast as you possibly can. And if
100%.
the CRM that you're using is that tool for you, then great. But the goal here is to be resourceful. One of our goals with DripJobs is to make that simple, right? So when you sign
Yep.
up, we already did all this thinking for you. We already wrote all the
Yep.
drips. We already have the stages set up. That's one of
Yep.
the major components of why we're different. But
Yep.
when you
Agreed.
hear what Mike has given us here in terms of intent, conditions, and actions, take this information, go to ChatGPT and say, hey,
Yep.
write me a drip sequence for a customer that's going to be entering a stage. Here's the intent of the stage. These are the conditions that help it get there. And then these are the actions that I hope that it takes. Now you're
Yep.
utilizing speed and you're just pasting it into DripJobs.
100%.
So when people are hearing this, because generally speaking, the thought is, man, I got to sit down, I got to think through all this, I got to write all this out.
Mhm.
Use the resources that
Oh
are
yeah.
out there available to you.
I believe that I haven't found an AI tool that can help me create the outline. So I normally sit down with my clients and have them describe their sales process, and then we create an outline based on that. But I'm 100% with you on the emails and text messages. We use AI to help us write that every day, all day.
Yeah, I mean, it's just the
It's so much
plumbing
faster.
of getting it
Yeah.
all together, and that can be,
Yeah.
that can be
Yeah.
intimidating for sure.
Well, and maybe once it spits out a draft, you maybe want to tweak it a touch.
Yeah,
Maybe it phrasing a
sure.
little bit there, but it at least is going to get you
It'll get
95%
you
there
thinking.
in seconds.
Yeah,
Seconds. Yeah, absolutely. And then, once you do that, you launch and monitor the results. Um, and then I really want to talk about this one too, because I know this is somewhat recent. I can't remember exactly when, but you guys opened up a bunch of Zapier stuff.
yeah,
And oh man, is it powerful. So, I want to talk about the custom automations. We're past pipelines, past the emails and drip sequences and stuff. And I want to talk about this because, it's not just emails and SMS. They're not the only automations possible. And the big ones here, you've got these ones here. I made this slide just to kind of show. We've
yeah.
got deal stages changed, new leads created, on-site estimates scheduled, projects completed, and proposals accepted. So for anyone listening that doesn't
I
know what
love
this
it.
means yet, for anyone that doesn't know what this means yet, these conditions are available in a tool called Zapier. And Zapier is a tool that lets you connect multiple different software tools together, like Google Drive, a text app, Slack, emails, text, like basically just about any app you can think of, it'll connect. And so you can use it to use these triggers from DripJobs to then take other actions. And so when you think about a primary function of how any automation system works, it has a condition, something has to become true, like fill out a form, then an action, send a response. So all automations work that. It's if then. If this happens, then do this.
Right.
So this thing is saying like, if the stage changes, then I can have Zapier do whatever it is I want it to do. Right. So even actions that aren't natively built into DripJobs, you can do. And there's tons. And I have a couple examples here. These are pretty simple based on those conditions, but I wanted you to expand on this because I know you're using this at a really high level. But this is a couple examples I got. Notifying team members when a stage changes. I think this is critical in organizations that have different people that are answering phones in those first few lead stages to a different person estimating, right? Because you can have the admin or your phone person deal with those first few stages. And once it gets to a certain point, you let that sales rep know, hey, we're past this point. You've got an appointment booked now for Jane Smith. Like all sorts of cool things can happen. You can also send Slack messages or text message to your sales team when new leads come in, or an admin or whoever. Send message to your estimator when a new estimate is scheduled. Maybe the person doing the estimates is a different person, right? So you can let them know. You can alert your project manager when a new proposal is accepted. And I think this is probably one of the clutch ones, like, because the project managers are normally not in the CRM daily. They're normally in different tools, or maybe they're in the CRM, maybe they're not. It varies company to company, but I think that these people are in their CRM a lot less than a sales team is. Yep. And then, other things like online review requests. And I know that's built in, but some people will use third-party online like review apps, like Grade Us or other kinds of systems like that. And there's all sorts of other things you can do. Like once the project's complete, you can start move them over here. There's even like some print companies where like you can integrate with and use a Zapier. Once they hit a certain stage, you can maybe at this end, like once a project's complete, you have this print company that like sends them a postcard or thank you note or whatever automatically. It's virtually limitless. You want to talk about what you got going on in this area?
Man, I love Zapier. I mean, I think it's one of the greatest apps ever built.
How many Zaps you got in your account?
Dude, in DripJobs, I have, an amazing amount. But for premium painting, we just released this thing like 2-3 months ago. The problem is I'm so focused on building that sometimes I don't utilize things as much as I want our users to. But I'll give you some examples of some cool ones that I've heard that are really deep integration. So here's one to give you guys an example of like a deep zap that you can do with this. Okay. So one of the triggers that was just shown on the screen is when a proposal is accepted in DripJobs. Okay. And what one of our users did, yes, when a proposal is accepted. Got it. Okay. So what one of our users did is they used Zapier. So whenever a proposal gets accepted in DripJobs, they use Zapier to trigger. Okay. So now the trigger's in place. Now we need an action. And the action is it actually will send a text message to a group text message to all their subcontractors. And it'll actually do math. So if the amount of the project is $10,000 and they have a 40-60 split with a sub, so 60% of that goes to the sub, it's actually going to take the amount of the proposal. It's going to do the math, and it'll send a text message that says, hi, sub, this is so-and-so with so-and-so. If you'd like to bid on this project, please reply with yes. Here's the work order, includes the photos so they can look through it. The payout amount for this project is $6,000.
Boom. Man, that's powerful.
It's insane.
That's so powerful.
Yes. So, that's just an example of a deep integration. Like you have.
I heard a similar one where like a proposal accepted and it starts integrating the color coordinator, interior designer. A lot of people will do those like color consultations.
Yeah.
Yep. Same thing. Once it's signed off, boom, you loop it in.
Yeah. We do that one. Again, that's, there's just so much you can do. And we have so many plans to continue to elaborate on this here.
I love it. Well, guys, I want to get here over to Tanner has some cool things he wants to do, screen share. So I'm going to wrap up my slides here real quick. But just a real quick offer for you guys that are still here with us. DripJobs was awesome enough to do like a 60-day free trial for new users. So if you want to grab that link that's on the screen, and I know our guys are going to put it in the comments, you can do that. If anyone wants to chat strategy with me, anything to do with marketing all the way through sales, I got a link right here for a strategy call. No sales, just strategy. So if that's of interest to you, go ahead. And at this point, man, I know we got some Q&A, but I wanted to jump off here, and you wanted to share some stuff.
Yeah,
So
I
I
want to
wanted to
just
set
give
the
a
camera.
visual of a couple things. It won't be long,
Yeah, for
I want to
sure.
just dive
Yeah,
into what I got
absolutely.
going on, and then
Yeah, sure. Share away, brother.
yeah, so let's
And
see.
then we'll go do Q&A after that.
Let's do it. All right. Tell me if you can see what I'm seeing.
Oh, I got it, brother.
All right. So, when we talk about stages, there's a few things that I just want to point out, right? So, we talked about this. I'm guilty. Look at me. I got 574 here. I'm guilty. I was sweating a little bit when you were calling us out, but naturally, man, the goal here is to keep this clean. You see, my estimate requests are clean, estimate
Yep.
schedules are clean. So these are our working areas. So
Yep.
in any case, what I want to showcase here is some of the custom stages that I've done and how I'm using them. But more importantly, giving you ideas for how you could do it as well. So scope review is number one. And for us in my painting business, we're very, very strict on the type of projects that we allow our customers to request. Okay. And if you've ever been in a position where you get a request from somebody that just wants a bathroom done, that puts you in a very vulnerable position as a business owner if you care about people, because you don't want to really reject people. And it's a tough phone call when you get the request in your queue and you have to call back and say, hey, so sorry, got your request. And then, look, and if you're in a position where you want to try to go and sell it and build value, that's fine. But if you go there and you commit to looking at it and you don't quote it, that's a bad look, right? So for me, I just found that it's best to be straightforward, and we automate this. So I'll just show you here what we have. So let's say this guy right here wants a bathroom done. So we use this scope review to trigger out a message that indicates to the customer that his request that he submitted is too small, right? Because this was a recurring thing. It'd be like, hey, can you paint a bathroom? Can you paint a door? Can you paint some trim on the front of my house? And I didn't feel like calling these people and, putting myself in a vulnerable position, because I'll wind up feeling bad and then taking the job when I know that, it just kind of wouldn't be our best move. So I just want to show you here that we just set up a nice text message. This is a drip text message that'll go out, and it says, hey, customer, thank you so much for requesting an estimate of us. We work with teams of 3 and 4. We are only able to take on full house painting jobs. Is this something you would like a quote on? If so, we are happy to quote painting the whole house, right? Because that's our core offer, is bigger projects, bigger teams. It helps us predict our scheduling. So for us, small jobs actually hurt us and take away our resources from things that we're best at. And this is an automation that happens when we get a request of a customer that wants a small project. Then we started seeing a lot of pool decks come in. I'm not driving all the way to your house to see a pool deck. I've seen every style of pool deck you can imagine. So when we get these requests, it's a waste of time, right? So from when we get these requests, we are actually asking the customer to send over 2 to 3 photos of their pool deck. So the theme here is that if you're seeing a common reoccurrence of things that are happening within your business, the first thought is like, can I automate that? And the second thought is how can I automate that with DripJobs? So that's a custom stage that I use very often, and then we clear them out if they don't respond. And then from here, we have a needs review. So I'm in the process of delegating, estimating to someone on my team, which, when you think about that at its core, it's a very difficult thing to give up. So of course you have to have the right system in place, which in this case is production rates, but then you need to have an easy way to audit. That was one of the things we talked about. You have you do the action, you iterate, and then you provide feedback. Well, this allows me to have an iteration stage. So this is the needs review stage. So when she's done doing an estimate,
you have that setup where they do it, and then it's a needs review. It alerts you, and then you check it and give feedback. And then if it's good, it moves on. If it's not, it revises.
Yes, I approve it.
Perfect.
So she can get better at estimating. And then of course it doesn't go out, because once it goes out, most of you guys know it's hard to take it back, right?
Oh yeah.
Right. So there's a couple more stages that I put in here. And guys, this is the constant evolution of your business. Like, what are you running into, and how great would it be to be able to say, you know what, I want to talk to my commercial customers. Here's the last 4 that have given me an opportunity in the last 20 days. Let me call them. Let me review the proposal. Let me make follow-ups. Or in this case, let me automate communication, right? So these are 4 commercial jobs, thousands and thousands of dollars of proposals. Let's look and see what they're receiving. So again, I just made a stage in DripJobs, went to commercial, got the sequence here, and we send one follow-up after 5 days, just like I told you guys, that asked them, how's the bidding process going, right? So like, in other words, because the stage organizes the contact, we can send out the context in relation to where that contact is in our buying process. Again, the goal here is to get from point A to point B faster, but more importantly, it's to create some separation from the competition. And the easiest way to do that is to communicate effectively.
Well, how many commercial guys just send the proposal and never reply back again?
Probably
I know that number.
99.99%
Yeah.
of them, maybe.
I would bet it's worse than the residential guys on average.
Yeah, and the thing is they spend a lot of time building out those quotes too, and it's like, man,
Those commercial quotes are no joke.
yeah,
Those
I
aren't
mean,
ones that you can normally do on the spot like you can with residential quotes. They almost all.
we just did this massive commercial quote today, and it's
How long did it take you?
not long, man. It was probably like 20 minutes, but it's all
Oh,
production.
that's awesome.
I just want to show you guys, like, we get some people say, oh, DripJobs can't be used for commercial, and I'm here using it, so I love to,
Man, that's amazing.
yeah, I want to show you kind of what it looks like with production rates. But like, imagine being a commercial customer and being able to explain to whoever you're presenting a proposal to in terms of a budget what they're paying for. And that's what production rates allows. Okay, we have 4 columns. We're doing 2 coats on them. This is what they're charging me for materials. This is what they're charging me for labor. Look at this commercial quote. It's lights out. Everything is itemized. So if they say, you know what, I don't want to do room 108. Okay, cool. Let's take it off the proposal, right? So again, this is the power, of DripJobs, and I'm showing you this because the communication is great, but when it's backed with the efficiency of really what they're there for, which is to get a proposal and to buy from you, it's an incredible combination. So a couple more things I want to show you here. Some of you guys have customers that you send proposals to. Imagine this guy Andrew says, Tanner, I would love to go with you, but for whatever reason, he can't move forward, right? He's told us, I can't move forward. I got something going on that's stopping me. Well, we don't just want to leave him here. Okay. And that's one of the mistakes. Now, I am good about this, is I put them in the on hold stage. And I'm not saying that the on hold stage is perfect. These are 92 people in the last, however long I've been using this stage that have said, Tanner, I'm not prepared to move forward yet. I need some time. Well, I'm going to move him there, and he's going to get a different sequence. Let's go look at what that is. That sequence over here is going to let him know we have one sequence with 4 drips going out over the course of 180 days that are going to indicate to him our excitement and enthusiasm for moving forward. Okay. And that context is what matters, right? So don't be afraid of automated communication as long as the context is relational. I got an email today from some cold email saying that I own a deck restoration business, and they were asking if I wanted more leads, Micah. And I don't do decks. And it made me angry because it's like, your automation sucks, right?
Yep.
But that's why our open rates, and again,
I get those daily, brother.
daily.
I get them so much.
I mean, but do yourself a favor. Let's look at the open rates. This is a good example. We got almost an 80% open rate, 73%, 68, 71, 61. And of course, the more time that goes by, the less the open rate. But even after 3 months, you're getting a 52% open rate on the emails because they're contextually sound. And then of course,
when we were talking about like iteration and changing, looking at numbers, like that screen that you just showed with like the open rates of that's a number we can pay attention to. If you're like struggling to get someone from say like stage C to stage D, you can look at those drips and look at those numbers and Are the open rates low?
Yeah.
Like that might be something we can change some headlines and change the message a little bit, and you can maybe get more open to get more people to that next stage.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a matter of, again, like having it in front of you and being able to easily go in, and do what needs to be done, and just kind of thinking about the journey. And look, I know this is production, but I believe there is an element of sales in production, and that's the communication component. Because just because
Yeah.
someone signed the dotted line doesn't mean you stop trying to pursue their business. You want to make it feel like they're getting more than what they paid for, and that starts with questioning, is your customer getting a superior experience after they hire you? What about this scenario? Somebody's listening to this. If a customer signs a proposal Saturday night at 8 o'clock, when do they get a thank you from you? And if the answer to that question is 72 to 80 some hours later, then that's not the best experience. And we automate that with this stage. So the customer goes here, they're getting a drip message. That drip message in the jobs pipeline is going to say thank you. It's going to open it up. It says, hey, we received the great news. Like, believe it or not, I think anyone who hires a company and puts down a deposit online on an online proposal, like, would feel a sense of, I don't know, relief getting
Oh yeah.
an email like this, right? So, I mean, for me, man, these drips just really do what I would naturally feel inclined to do, but they do it automatically in such a way that it allows each of our customers to have the same experience. And that is the key here, because, you don't want Mary to have one beautiful buying and production experience, and then she refers you to Sally, and Sally's like, I don't know what they did for you. Maybe the boss was having a good day, but I didn't get any communication about my start date. I didn't get any follow-ups. I didn't get any reminders. Again, another feature.
And
So
not having a CRM makes it like it's like a coin flip.
it's a coin flip. And
It really is, man.
one last thing here on the topic of this. Let's just do this real quick. I want to show anyone watching this how easy this is. So let's say you had a thought in your mind. You're like, you know what? I want to follow up with I want to create a drip sequence that goes out to people that I've done work for that I really liked. Okay. So I'm going to create one that says favorite customers. Okay. So let's do this together. Okay. So we're going to go favorite customers. We're adding that stage. DripJobs is doing its thing. Okay. So we got favorite customers. So I'm going to come here, and I talked about this because I want you guys to see this here. So we're going to go. Can you see ChatGPT on the screen, or am I not sharing that screen?
I can't see that screen.
All right, so let me switch it over real quick, because again, if we can get this, you guys are unlocking power here. So write me a 3 drip email sequence for customers that we've painted their house, but I want the sequence to have a component of trying to sell them more work or asking them for referrals. I want it to go out in 30-day increments for 3 months. Okay. And then my name is Tanner. I'm the owner of Premium Painting, and just see what it does. Okay. We're just going to take one of them. We'll just show you how easy this is, because again, like if you can do this, you can really, I mean, you're seeing it. You can really just like,
it's literally in real time, and like 60 seconds later, you've got your thing. And,
here you go, done. Right. So let's just use this one. I don't even need to read it because I trust, I trust it so much. So let me switch back. I'm going to kick back over to drips real quick, doing some maneuvering here. All right, cool. So we have our favorite customers. We're going to go in. We're going to say follow up 1. Boom. After 30 days, just like that. Boom. It's Tanner. And if we want to personalize it, we just say hi. We're going to grab that first name there. Boom. Let's go first name. Yeah, right there. Exclamation. It's Tanner from Premium Paint. It's been about a month since we had the pleasure of working for your home. I wanted to check in and see how you're enjoying your freshly painted space. Your satisfaction is our top priority. So the first thing is, instead of just asking for things, it's saying we are here for you. By the way, if you have any other painting needs, whether it's refreshing another room, touching up trim, tackling an outdoor project. Now, again, you might want to change that. So if you already did the exterior, make it more general. And of course, if you know anyone that could use our services, we'd greatly appreciate it. Thank you for choosing Premium Painting. Woo. All right.
It's awesome, dude.
So right there. So let's save that. Hold on. I want to wrap this up here. I know we're short on time, but I just want to show you guys one more thing. So when I save this, okay, oh, hey, how are you on the subject? So let's just go back. So when we go back to that pipeline, you're going to have that option now, right? So if I have a favorite customer that I work for that I know is going to go to bat for us, we've just created a new stage here, and we're just going to drag that customer there, and they're going to be in line to receive that communication, Micah.
I love it. I absolutely love it. Guys, if y'all got some value out of this, give us a thumbs up over here. Hey man, I got some questions. So I want to, if we can, let's get in a couple questions here. All right, let's see what we got. The first one I see is actually for me from Sam Creaney. He says, Micah, as a marketer, what CRM do you use? We got Go High Level and find it terrible. We're using Go High Level too. It's buggy. It works. There's some pros and cons here. I think that as a contractor, I think the number one choice is clearly DripJobs. If you're doing something else, every one of those CRMs I think has some pretty major pros and cons. I don't think there's a right choice. I think just deal with it. I think my two favorites in there are Active Campaign and Go High Level. Burgess Perry has a big one here. He says, I'm not sure where he's referring to this as, but he's saying in this regards to B2C pipelines or B2B pipelines. He's asking if you need to have separate for each. I'm sure he was probably talking about the drips. Are you talking about with those different stages? Do you want to speak on that real quick?
Yeah, and that's the flexibility that you have. I think all of them are going to go through the same buying process. They're just going to go through a different production process. And that's where the stages come in. Just really map out what hurdles your commercial clients go through. You know, we work with roofers. So one of the hurdles they have is that they need permitting, and we create a stage for permitting. So we can identify if it has its permit or if it needs, if it needs to be submitted for a permit. So think like that. Like, is there something on the commercial side that you run into often that you want to create kind of like a checkpoint for?
Yeah, I love it. I got another one here from Vince Massimo, I don't know how to pronounce that last name. He says, a question I have is when customers enter the sales pipeline through Facebook or Angie, they are a cold lead. Then there's a follow-up before the appointment, an initial phone call, for instance. I found that building value before I show up helps the sales process. So whether it's an interior painting or exterior painting or cabinets, I'll email over corresponding PDFs with customer reviews before and afters, and also the phone number and addresses which they've shared, and said that they'd be more than happy to take calls from the other clients. I found that since hired a marketing company, I'm having a harder time getting these emails out. Is there a way to customize the lead so that it falls into an interior painting, exterior painting, or cabinet painting drip so they can automatically receive those PDFs to build such value?
100%. We actually added that feature in the new lead Zapier flow where you can actually select the sequence the lead gets. Yep. So you would segment, if it's a cabinet lead in the Zap, you would determine the cabinet sequence, and that's the sequence they'd get.
So, if that's unclear from a technical standpoint, what that means is that like the one pipeline stage can have more than one sequence in it. There was a window that you had where you can have like one stage, like cold leads. You can have sequence 1, sequence 2, sequence 3. So in that cold lead, you could have, here's a Facebook follow-up, here's a Google follow-up, here's an Angie follow-up. Or if you wanted to like maybe have a drop down in a form where they're picking interior or exterior or whatever, then as you're zapping them over, you can use that as a filter and you can have one sequence for interior. And if they chose that on the form, then that's what fires based on your Zapier settings. So there's a few different ways you could do it, but yeah, that's totally possible. And I love that. Ray Gomez says, how are you estimating on the spot with when a proposal needs review? I think he's talking about like when your estimator is doing these things and you need review, and asking whether you're doing it on the spot. I remember you're not doing them on the spot anymore, are you?
No, I adopted the estimator model and it's working. So
yeah. Do you find it's better or worse? I mean, have you looked at the numbers?
Some of the best painting companies are closing at 30%. So
yeah,
I'm at 30%.
Well, there's
I mean, so
nothing
it's
wrong
like
with that.
that's the way I see it is that there are, and this is, I've got this from Nick. I don't know like what the data is on this. He's got data for it, but there's more people that are never going to buy from you than there are people that are going to buy for you. And
Oh, 100%.
I've recognized that there's a few people that could be converted, but the majority of the people that we're after are the ones that have already decided that they want to go with us. They just need us to do our job. And that's what we're sending the estimator to do.
Mm-hmm.
I think at some point your reputation precedes you. And I think we're at that stage, and, we have natural growth happening. So the estimator, model works pretty well.
Yeah, I've seen it work well on both. I would, I think we talked about this before. I think that as a salesperson, you should have the sales skills. You should have the ability to sell on the spot, but it doesn't mean that I think you
Right.
necessarily have to every time or at all. But
Yeah.
I believe that like if you don't know how, there's probably some missing skills.
Yeah.
Do you agree with that?
I agree. You got to know. I mean, there's a process to it. You can't like, there's rules around doing it. You don't want to send it a week later. You want to try
Yeah.
to get it out fast. You want there to be an office touch point before you send it to build some more value. I'm big on touch points. I want them to hear as many different voices and different communications as possible. So they feel like they have an army, on their side to help them get their project done. Um,
Yeah, I love it. A couple more questions, man, and I know we are tight on
yeah,
time. You got another like 5 minutes?
I got 5 minutes. Let's do it.
Okay, perfect. We got one here from Robert Lance says, "Can we create a stage for customers that will never work for again that ceases all communications? Can't you just
Yeah,
DNC them?
I
I
would
mean,
delete them from the system. I've done
delete
that
them,
enough
right?
times. Yeah, I've
Yeah.
had a couple
I,
people that I just like. I never want you to receive anything from me ever again.
yep.
I had
Well,
one.
and
I
you
had
can.
one a couple weeks ago.
Did you? Yeah. I think that I don't. I agree with you. I wouldn't create a stage for that. I would just delete them out of the system,
Gone.
Robert. I think that's. Yeah, I think that would be
And you
great.
know what's crazy? There's been times in the past where I didn't do that, and then I do a marketing email campaign, and go figure, they'd find a way to reply to it. They just had to
Yep.
say it. So
Yep.
get them out.
Yeah, I agree. Yep. Delete them, I think, is the way. Michael Johnson says, "Is there good benchmarks for open rates?" And I'm not sure if he's
Micah
referring
probably
to
knows that better than me.
email or SMS. Yeah. So this is tough because every industry is different. Every area is going to be different. Your headlines are going to make big changes, but generally speaking, really broad ranges. Emails tend to have between 30 and 40% open rates. Texts tend to have around 90% open rates. So one of the things that I do with automations is no one wants to read a giant long text. Like it gets like overwhelming. Like, oh my God, you just sent me this wall I got to scroll through forever. So what I'll do is like very often in my sequences and sometimes my client sequences that I'm helping them do, sometimes you need to send a moderately long email, but I also want to couple that with an SMS. So I may have a couple paragraphs of information about maybe we're talking about color choices. Hey, we want you to do X, Y, Z, do this and this, talk to this person. There might be some information that they need to digest and some actions they need to do. And it would be way too long for a text, but I can do that. And then I can immediately send a text, say, hey, I just shot you over a really important email about color choices. I know that's the next stage. Go do me a favor and go to your
Yep.
email and read that and let me know when you got it.
Yeah.
So something like that, you can piggyback on both of those systems, because if you send someone giant long text, they're gonna unsubscribe
Yeah.
like really quickly, and that's what I do, right, to help that. Have you done that? Have you done that before?
Yeah, I think, the fact of the matter is like open rates are subjective. I think
Yeah,
like
yeah,
there's a difference between transactional messaging and marketing messaging, and you're just going to realize that people will open things that relate to them and are valuable, like reminders, proposals. But cold leads, you're going to notice that there's not as great of a open rate because they know what to expect, so they don't even click it. So
yeah, yeah. It is stage dependent. Those ballparks that I said were very, very,
yeah,
very loose. very loose. But I mean, in general, text gets opened more than email. And sometimes it's not even intentional. Sometimes like one word that you have in an email, maybe their Gmail just like flags it, puts it in spam, and so they never see it. So that's one of the reasons I piggyback emails with SMS,
Right.
because it just helps. All right, last question, man, and then let's wrap up. We got Dan says, are you sending written proposals to jobs where clients send you photos or text or just texting a ballpark? Since DJ tracks leads and appointments, this would be a lead, but not a set appointment.
Yeah, it would just go from lead to proposal, would jump over the proposal, it would jump over the estimate gap. I think there's a lot of companies that do virtual estimating. I do,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Here's the key. The key here is for you to be astutely aware of the way people want to buy, right? And I think if that is a focus to you, then you just adjust your business in a way that aligns with that, right? And I think what you'll see is that if you make it easy for people to buy, they'll buy. But if you create hurdles along the way, like, hey, I have to meet you, or kind of going off the cuff here, but that usually causes more problems than good. So we've created a virtual estimating system, and you come in as a cold lead and that's what you really want, we'll give it to you, whatever.
Yeah. I love it. I love it. I do think from a mechanical standpoint, what he was asking is, we talked about earlier with the idea of the drips is go from stage A to B to C.
Right.
Sometimes what you said, they can skip.
It'll skip over.
They can. Really, our goal is to get from A to Z,
Yeah.
and we normally see this, but sometimes they'll skip several steps.
Yeah.
Like some people will have like, they could go from new lead to estimate scheduled in like 5 seconds, right? And they could skip several of these other stages. It's okay to skip stages as long as they're going towards the finish line. I think they're fine. Yeah, love it.
Yeah.
Well, guys, thanks for joining. I appreciate it. Tanner, thank you so much for your time and your team. I know Eli was behind the scenes helping out a lot, and Michael behind the scenes on our team. So appreciate all of you guys. And we look forward to seeing all you guys in the future.
Take Mike up on his free call, guys. He's a great guy, and he'll do a great job for you, even if it's just give us some advice. So,
yeah, absolutely. I appreciate it, man. And anyone that's not using DripJobs, hit that link up and sign up. You won't regret it. All right, guys. See you later.